I am
Well,
back again with the Honorable Shukria Barakzai. And Shukria, as I told you, my conversation with you has been one of the most inspiring, uplifting, and empowering conversations. I've had the privilege of speaking with many women leaders around the world, women heads of state, as well as women political and public leaders. But my conversation with you has been unique and special because the ways in which your courage and your moral leadership has helped women in Afghanistan and given voice to women from around the world. So Shukriya, what I wanted to do in this segment of our conversation is to speak about some of those threats that you faced as a woman political leader. There have been many assassination attempts. And in fact, one of the most vivid examples of those assassination attempts was the Kabul suicide bombing. So can you talk to us a little bit about the attempts, the assassination attempts, and the attempts on your life and your family's security?
well, thank you for the kind word, as you say at the beginning. Whatever I'm saying, it's the journey of my life, and those values I believe in. Still, I am alive. When you're talking about the attempts and attacks, it reminds me there was so many that it always was kind of miracle that I saved and I survived. For instance, in 2003, while I was been busying in managing to talk with the people about the constitution on my trip inside of Afghanistan, and there was a they call it granite bomb. They just like 2 hours before of that, I moved the place. That was in Kunduz province, and exactly the bedroom where I supposed to be asleep. But somehow I always try to change the schedule and the routes because I was been aware about the situation. So that was like 100%. Because no one understand that I should leave that time according to the schedule was been made at the early morning. But I start rather than morning in the midnight, the journey, start to go and move to another province for public consultation for the constitution. And the strange thing was I was been busy with the interviewing BBC World Service, where the BBC driver came and knocked my door and said their car was then parked in front of your door. That was 2005. But the driver is a kind of weird and strange and run away. Is that somebody come to your house at that time? The Kabul was different. It wasn't too much traffic and everything. And the roads was not been blocked as it was later on. I asked all the neighbors and they say they don't know whose car is that. So finally, the BBC journalists, without completing their interview, they run away because we understand it's a kind of sign of threat. And at that time, the coalition force ISAF, they were been in charge of Kabul security. They came and they order us, me and my kids, to just go and make the house empty. I just followed the command and we did. The road was been blocked. So many cars came and lots of investigation was get on. And at the end, I got a phone call from one of the Kabul security in charge, the quick reaction force commander. He say, would you kindly, we have a request from you. Please do not say whatever happened tonight. That was a car bomb. And because the ISAF took away the car without, it took like a couple of hours. They worked on, and then later on, they just took the car with them. And they say, please do not say that one, because that was just the beginning of parliament, because it will give a bad image. It may scare other women. I said nothing. I say, okay. And in 2014, which is, I was been badly wounded. And for a couple of months, I was been hospitalized. That was the that was the attack that changed my my opinion about to go and just to be in a when the attack happened, it's hard to describe.
I know, Shukria, this is a very, very difficult incident for you to recall. And my heart is with you. And I admire your courage in being able to share with us that story of that attack in 2014. Yeah. We all stood in awe in 2014 at your courage. This was an attack that reverberated around the world. We all knew what was happening, and we all knew about your courage. So, Shukria, if it will be wonderful if you can share with us the ways in which you responded to that attack.
Well, I had a multiple of kind of feeling. First, when the attack happened, when I opened my eyes, like after still I remember the color of car. It was red and it has like a very janky color, designer piece in front of in the mirror, which is they can see that janky color was been very attractive to me. And I say, oh, which kind of, which is just in a second the bomb happened, and I was unconscious for I don't know for how long. But when I opened my eyes, my face, my head, my hair, everything was just, my hand was burned. And I came out from the car, which is, I don't know, it's probably the adrenaline or whatever, carrying my bags because it was full of documents. I was been working with and dealing with budget in the parliament and other laws drafted. And I don't know how I carried everything, my phone, my bag, and that kind of situation. I wasn't cried. I wasn't someone to, but I remember I was asking a guy that, are you okay? Because he had a bleeding on his head. And there was no ambulance. I was asking for ambulance. There was no ambulance. And finally, one of the radio driver say, the lady come close to me, and I was like a kind of scared. And she said, this is me. And I noticed her voice. And the driver dropped me to the hospital. But later on, I got probably more than 10,000 visitors and messages and letters across the country, inside and outside. And that was the time that I realized that my love, my respect, my commitment for my country, it wasn't a one way, it has both ways. I was so busy, I never realized the love and the prayers that people made. And
the love that was and prayers from women around the world, Shukria.
Oh, of course.
All of us.
It was been a kind of
it was a love affair. We were just in awe.
I appreciate and it's really touched my heart, the level of support I received and the love. But what made me like deep down, even still sad for the loss of those people on the street, which is they lost their life. It was very hard for me when I was been sitting around the table among the victim families, myself and those whom they've been wounded, because I just tried to help them somehow. And I was been questioning myself inside who I am around the table. I am the cause of that tragedy and catastrophe, or I'm one of the victims. And that question was because they lost their life just because of my opinion, my idea. And that was a really alarming. That was make other women's rights activists to be very cautious about their security, and that was kind of alarming for other like how we can face and how threat can come close to us. When it comes to the enemy, I think a long list of enemy. I was been working against the corruption. I was been working against the mafia, drug mafia, warlords, Taliban,
Right.
extremism.
There is
And
a
all,
famous statement that you made that the parliament is full of warlords,
yeah,
drug lords, and you know, that I think hit a nerve, Shukriya.
yeah, because that was a collection of everyone, like the cream of cream. If you just make it from every single category, there were people, which is most of the time, even my colleague in parliament, several times they attacked me verbally. They've been threatening me. And of course, they have the power also to do. Well, later on, my life changed after that because the government provide me a special security, a independent social life. I was been very deep connected with the people. One of other citizens, ordinary citizens, had been circulated in a small circle. For instance, I was not a decision maker for the road going to the parliament or to the work, or for the events that I should go and attend, or for my civil society activities or visitors inside of the house in my office. And several times the government informed me that still there are people, there are groups that they want to attack on me. Many times I run away out of the country for 2-3 days to just make things different, and I came back. And I remember what midnight the current ex-foreign minister, Mohammed Ali Fatmar, he called me and say, the threat is up to your neck. You have to leave immediately to your house. You have to. And I say, I'm sorry. I will not leave this time. I will stay. I won't confront. I want to face. How and which kind of government you are that you cannot take security just for one individual? How you're claiming for the country? So they say that go to any hotel, they have the government special, what they call guest houses, which is very safe and secure. I say, no, I will stay. Whatever is happening, because it was a midnight, my kids were sleeping. Tomorrow morning, they had school to go. For the kids, it was not easy to digest. Like, why did they change the place? Why every time they should change the place? Although an attack also happened on my kids as well on their way to school. Yeah, but that was when their car crossed, another car was bent. But it didn't stop my daughters from their education. Well, after that night, they bring a tank and they put like a couple of hundred soldiers around, and I don't know what they did. But later on, like in a few weeks' time, he called me and he said, the president have a respect for you, and you are women, which is we all in this country need you, but we would like you to be alive and safe. Afghanistan more
that's beautiful, but that's a beautiful affirmation of what you meant to the leadership of Afghanistan and to the people of Afghanistan, to say, you know, we need you and we want you to be safe.
Yeah, to be honest, that was the second time I heard the same message from presidents. First time it was 2005 when, or four probably, yeah, 2004 after the election. I had a problem on my personal life and I had a problem with everything. So I got a scholarship from Canada, a good offer, and I asked the president, I will go and I will complete my education until PhD, then I'll be back. And at that time, President Karzai said, your country needs you.
Shukriya, everyone has a PhD, but no one is Shukriya. Do you know what I mean? You have many PhDs in courage. You have many PhDs in service. You have PhDs in heroism. You know, everyone has a PhD, but what you have, no one else has, Shukriya.
That was my desire. That was
So
what
he
I was
told
been.
you, so President Karzai said your country needs you.
Yeah, yeah. He say, women's need you and this country needs you. Stay. There's a long journey for you to go. And you will have a brighter future. At that time, even the election and the parliament, nothing was happened. And that was the second president message, which is was been conveyed by Hani Fatma, that they say, President, and the people love you and we don't want to lose you. And the best, we thought, the only way you can save and survive if you can represent the country outside of Afghanistan. And also he said that it's not only about your life, it's also about the life of others are with you. For me and my life, myself, I am ready to dedicate it even today. Even the Taliban say we will kill you, but we will let the girls go to school. I will happily go.
Shukria.
Will hang you, but the women's right would be improved. That will be an honor for me. I'm not the one to die for nothing. I'm the one that I'm living, and I will die for the values I believe. So that decision was been made, and I've been forced, kind of.
I will die for the values I believe.
Yeah, definitely. And I'll prove it.
That is the mission of your life. That is the philosophy by which you have lived, Shukria. Shukria, I hope you know that your life will matter not only to the daughters of Afghanistan, but to the daughters of the world. And for the girls are yet to come, generations yet to come will value you. And your voice and your life will mean so much to them.
Yeah, it's I think it's
that is what I want to do with this conversation, to make sure that your voice is heard.
Their life, their rights, their empowerment.
Shukriya, this
to me a lot. I have nothing there more than my life, more than my time that I can dedicate.
But you have proved it. You have proved it yet and yet again.
Yeah, but still it's continuing, because that is my commitment. As much as I do, still I'm thinking it's not enough. And let me come to I represent my country outside. I went to a completely different world, from a very independent, large, great circle of expressing my opinion and ideas to a very... So technically I wear very tight shoes, being a diplomat. But when I went out of my country, I get the chance to see the bigger picture of my country, where we are, who we are, what we are. And of course, I admire the level of tolerance in Norwegian government, because I was a tough ambassador as well.
So tell me about that. So tell me what you mean by you were a tough ambassador, because here you were representing Afghanistan in Norway, a country that is on the top of the gender index. It's one of the countries that has the highest rating on gender equality in the world. Over and over again, it has been #1. And here you are representing Afghanistan with, despite the progress that you and other women leaders like Fauziar and Dr. Sima Sama and Naheed have made, thankful, progress was slow. So this was an interesting dynamic.
Yeah, it was. That's what I thought before I left Afghanistan. I say I will learn a lot, and that will be the place which I will really enjoy to work, because there's no discrimination among men and women. Everything is so peacefully. only point I forgot that I will be Afghan over there and I will represent the Afghans. And I have to stand and defeat the rights of Afghans outside of Afghanistan, not only in Norway, but also in Denmark. When it comes to, and for Iceland as well, but when it comes to the political differentiation, Afghanistan, Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Afghanistan never cooperate with me as it should, because I was not their party. So that's a very domestic.
So the politics was bad.
What I learned, especially when I met the head of Sami's parliament, where she was a lady, the way she was describing the journey of her life, it touched my heart. It was very moving, because I thought, no matter where you live as a woman, as a someone in this injustice world, one way or another way, you will be suffered. It gave me more like strength to move forward.
Right. Exactly.
And
there's a commonality in the way in which women experience gender inequality and discrimination. And that there may be differences, but there is that common bond as women.
Exactly. It's always, and everywhere there's a minority, there's a majority, there's a difference, and there's a commonality among human and the globe, and particularly among women. And that's why that common challenges give us a strength to stand together from different parts of the world under one umbrella with the name of women and human being. No matter what is the only great thing women does, it's solidarity. I really value that solidarity among women, which is, it's a very natural, especially when...
And the global movement, the global women's movement has really brought that to the forefront. That women from around the world in the last 25 years have come together under the banner of the Convention on the Elimination of Discrimination Against Women, which is the CEDAW, to assert our rights on a common platform. And that is what you, Shukria, I think you said it so beautifully, that here you are going from Afghanistan to Norway, a country that boasts gender equality, but you find that women all over, whether it's in Norway or Afghanistan, have those common experiences of inequality.
Yes. Well, it also was about, when it comes to the human rights, I remember one from one of the Norwegian diplomat where I stand against their decision, which is they want to kind of safe house or shelter house for minors. This situation, they moved to Norway, and the Norwegian government was planned to send them back and keep inside of those kinds of shelters or detention center or whatever. Yeah, to stay there. And I say it's against human rights, against international principle. That was lady. She responded me, say, women's rights, human rights activists are very idealist. That was a kind of answer surprised me. And I thought, this is the end of the conversation. When human rights values are going to be something very idealist, I love to have the idea. And I am the one to make this idealism to be a realism. I am the one to build that bridge in between. And I say, for you, good information, as long as I am the ambassador, I would not let these things to happen. That was a clear message, clear
So
cut.
you represented not only Afghanistan, but you represented the values of human rights in Norway.
The value of human rights and also the rights of Afghans to be defeated.
Mm-hmm.
I was, and I experienced lots of unpleasant stories where I will definitely write about it and I would definitely talk about it. But sometimes just for the sake of those victims, for the sake of their identity, I cannot explore a lot. But to be honest, sometimes it's nice to have something on our mind as a dream, as a how they could
as a
say.
vision, as an to aspire to, right? We need to have something that we aspire to, something that we believe in.
Yeah. So, but we should understand that the Ethiopia is not a country. You know, the
Utopia, well, but utopia can be in our ideas, right? Utopia doesn't exist, but it can exist in our mind.
It can exist in the mind, of course. It start. Everything is just start from thinking. Imagination make you things to bring it out from the image to the reality. If you don't have a vision, if you don't have something on your mind, if you don't value, how you would say you will work for it, which is you have no idea. But anyway, I represent my country outside, and I prove in the history of Ministry of Women's Affairs, Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Afghanistan, in the entire history, no one sent extra 101,000 euro back to Afghanistan as an extra money, which is I use my brain, and we use a different system to save the exchange rate. It never happened in the history of foreign affairs in my country. Because one is the income of embassy, which is it was delivering the consular services, you know, providing passports, other documents. That was been clear, but the extra amount of money, it never happened in the history of that ministry.
So
and that
what
means
it shows is that you ran a very tight operation. You saved Afghanistan's budget, the budget that was allocated to you, and you sent that money back. So you were standing up for the values that you preach, the values of anti-corruption, right? You were against any kind of spending, budgetary spending by the government. And you managed to run a very modest operation, still flying the flag of Afghanistan.
Yes. And that was also about the transparency, because I made everything, and thanks to the Norwegian system as well, everything was just banking system, electronic. So since I become, and I say, we will not accept cash, we will not accept check. Every transaction needs to be through to the bank, to the embassy account. Several times diplomats, including Ministry of Foreign Affairs, say that's not the right way, and I say I'm doing the right job. Because when you click and you print all the account information, you have everything in front of your eyes. You don't need to hide anything. So that's also one of those greatest, I would say, action.
Absolutely. And what it also showed is you were living by your philosophy, the philosophy that you were, that you wanted Afghanistan to aspire to, of anti-corruption, and that as one of the highest diplomats, that here you were saving the Afghan government's money.
Yes, with a very clear transparency. So this thing happened, and when I went to Norway, when I realized that I'm not allowed to speak out about everything, and of course that time the Nordic country was really willing to send, and not voluntarily, because any volunteer return was been part of our policy, and of course part of the human rights conventions. But any kind of force return, that was the most unpleasant thing, or we can say deports, the term of deportees. And I sent a message to the president that it's a very kind of you, but if you kindly can appoint, I'm not suitable, because I do understand the diplomatic relationship is always need both sides with the common ideas, and sometimes the politics. I do believe Norwegian nation and people and their government included, they believe human rights. Of course, they are the champion of that. But sometimes the domestic politics is something else, that they have to measure things, they have to take some decisions against some values, which is they think it would may have a kind of impact on their internal politics. But I really don't want to play politics when it comes to the values. Values are values. Politics is about the values. If you drop the values from the politics, then politics, it means nonsense. So that is my opinion.
I love, I'm taking down notes on what you say. You know, values without, politics without values is nonsense.
Yeah. Yeah. Politics is about the values. So guess if we don't have belief something, if it's ideology, it's values, the ideology is based on values. That's why we have a different type of political views. It's all and everything based on values. But if we drop down and we compromise everything, then it's not politics anymore.
So Shukria, you returned back to Afghanistan after you served Afghanistan as a diplomat, and then you watched the fall of Afghanistan over again. It was a sense of deja vu for you.
When I went back, nothing was the same as I left. That was very heartbroken for me, because the people, the freedom of expression, the women's position, nothing was the same.
Everything changed. So how did the change happen gradually? Because of the
it has a few important elements on that one. Number one, when there's a lack of political will and commitment, a change is happening. When there's a lack of unity among the leadership in the country, things are going in the wrong direction. When there's a lack of healthy conversation and healthy diplomacy between Afghanistan and their allies, things are definitely changing. When there's a constantly forcing ideas locally and internationally by one address, things are changing. When the turnout of the people in the election 2019 was just about less than 1 million people, that was catastrophe. For legitimacy, I understand, it's okay. But for a country where people like to enjoy the election, but systematically destroying the election, that was a catastrophe. So the catastrophe didn't start suddenly. It starts when the peace process, unconditional peace process starts.
Absolutely. It was not something that happened overnight.
Yeah, no, it started
It was
before.
not something that happened only because of the troop withdrawal.
Yeah, no, it wasn't only the only cause. When I went
So
back
can
to,
you take us to that fateful night when you were trying to leave Afghanistan because your life was once again in danger?
yeah, but before, why I reject to be a part of that peace negotiation, and
Okay.
why I refuse to be not anymore working in any position, from the minister to the ambassadors with the government, it's just because I couldn't find shared values and common sense.
Shared
When
back, yes.
yeah, when they offer me that I should join the negotiation team, I say I'm really sorry, because
Oh, so you were invited to join the negotiation team in Doha. I see. So you
yeah,
were one of those who was invited. You were one of
yes,
the women.
yeah, because the government wants to have me there, and I say I'm really sorry. The the way you started and the way you want to move on, I'm sorry. It wouldn't work. So that's why I believe that it wasn't only one leakages. There was a multiple thing put together, which is the fall happened. On
So
the
because there were 4 women on the negotiating team.
yeah,
In the
yeah,
peace.
there
So you were one of those who was invited to join as one of
I
the few women leaders.
yes, I was been invited, and they say president wants to appoint you for that, and I say I'm really sorry. I if you want to ruin this negotiation, I am at your service, because I believe the position you start and the way the Taliban are looking for that team and that peace process, it would may not come with a solid concrete, because this structure of
You foresaw the breakdown of the peace
yes,
talks.
yeah. So
So
that
you
was
were very prophetic. You were very prophetic in really anticipating the breakdown of this.
yeah, because and they say you can go and you can make it a different. I say it's too late, and that was
I
late.
understand.
I,
Yes.
colleagues, they was been waiting for a months, for not only 1 month, 7, 8 months, just for the Taliban to say we are ready. They were waiting in Qatar and Doha. Just Taliban should sit and talk, start direct talk with them. It didn't happen. Not a single serious talk regarding Afghanistan for peace process among the Afghan delegates and Taliban. It couldn't happen. So that was the failure, which was quite. What was important, the consensus, because I was been working with the public opinion, and the public opinion strongly like to keep those values that we paid 20 years about it, not only Afghans, but also international. So we would love to work with those values and those achievements to be contained and to be maintained. And unfortunately, and there was a strong message across the country comes out that no to the Taliban by different actions, by saying evening Allah Akbar, by people protesting, people was campaigning and everything. But unfortunately, the fall of Taliban was been a politically designed. It was been designed by all means by the leadership, the weak leadership of Afghan National Security Force was one of the greatest obstacle. For a couple of months, the absence of Ministry of Defense, that was something that's a country was been burning in a war, but the Minister of Defense wasn't there. And that was like a, excuse me, or the Ministry of Interior during the Ramadan, he was distributing dates to the people to break their fast. That's not the job of
I like how you said, that's not the job of the Ministry of Defense to be distributing dates.
yes, of course. They did something which is it was, and even those people which is sitting on the top, they were not familiar with the Afghanistan geography, with the how I could say the tribes issue in Afghanistan, or with the landscape of Afghanistan.
The geographic landscape. That's, yes.
That's important. If you don't know, neither the people, neither the geography, neither the culture, neither the landscape, how you will lead the security sector? Even don't have a single knowledge about the military themselves, about the intelligence themselves. So those things put hands together and put Afghanistan in an extreme weak position. Beside of that, I don't want to criticize anyone, and I think that was a good diplomacy with May was been leaking. That's why the government of Ashraf Ghani couldn't talk properly with the Trump administration and later on with the Biden administration. Every single visit and meeting was like going to a wedding, and bunch of people traveling from Kabul to America, going and coming back without any clear message to the people or achievement. It's for me was different because we tried our best. I did on my capacity. I remember when President Karzai wasn't have a good relationship with Barack Obama, and we were the one that and I was one of the very active person. I play a key role inside of America in Afghanistan. And I remember when Barack Obama was been visiting Kabul, I was been invited by U.S. Embassy. That evening, of course, everything was not been announced before. They asked me that we want you to, because the president is coming and we would like you to meet. And I say, I'm really sorry because I don't want to go to palace. I had an argument with President Karzai office, not with his family, not with his wife, which is she was my good friend, but with his office. And I say, oh, you're inviting me there, which is I don't want to go. That's the office I don't want, because for me, my country is important, not those individuals who are sitting and leading. So see how individuals can play a role to make things different. And I remember when I met in White House.
Your story, Shukriya, when I started having this conversation with you, the enormous admiration I had for you. But even, I didn't ever think it would be possible for that admiration to grow the way it has grown, Shukriya. The way you speak truth to power, the way you lead with your values. Here you were telling President Karzai and his people, you're not willing to come to dinner with him and the President of the United States because you had differences of opinion. And you told the President of the United States, instead of a truth increase, give us more scientists, engineers, and scholars. You
yes.
Truth to the American president.
Yeah, and that was the first time I remember
and
my
you say you're not interested in this palatial, as you said, it's like going to a wedding. This is not about a wedding. This is about negotiating the security of the country.
Yeah.
This is not about making this into some kind of a parade.
Yeah, of course. I remember my direct conversation, even some Americans also remember, because at that time in White House, that was very, very interesting. It has I heard lots of feedback from that meeting when I met with President George W. Bush during when he was serving the United States, and First Lady Laura Bush, she was very active by all means, and she had a sense to work with the women. Of course, Michelle
was
Obama
very close to the women of Afghanistan.
Very much. So when President Bush was asked me how, so he showed me his office and say how it is, and I say it's wonderful. So how's Afghanistan? And I say, why you bring back the warlords?
You told that to the president.
His face, just direct. And I say it's a warlords, because if that mistake may happen today, we maybe had a different Afghanistan. because the warlords comes and they bring us corruption back, and they come with a culture of impunity, because justice is the core of everything. It's the strong pillar. You know, if you remove justice, uh, what will make sense? What will make meaningful things? And he say that, oh, if you don't like them, you should kick them out. But your country needs women like you. And I say, I would serve my country, but I would like you also to do not support warlordism. And I think in that time of the times, that was a message, which is no one had the courage to say in front of the most powerful president in the world. And kind of,
yes, Shukria speaking to the most powerful person in the world and speaking truth to power by saying, why did you bring back warlords and warlordism? And
yes,
he says, we need women like you, saying, I will serve my country.
yeah. Yeah. Because the criticizing a policy in front of the leaders that they made those kinds of policy, it's not an easy task. I remember when I was been nominated, when I was been receiving award in 2005 in the United Nations building as an editor of the year 2004. And the day they was presenting me a trophy, when I slammed the politics of state in Afghanistan, that a title for lots of newspapers at that time. An Afghan journalist, the US politics, because I was just a journalist. And I'm proud. No matter what is the title.
You are the mouthpiece of the women. This is the most important newspaper in Afghanistan.
Yeah, that was a very, very important. But meanwhile, to be honest, it's not easy when you are saying, because everybody's clapping, oh, that's a great policy. Everybody's saying, no, that's policy. Don't. So that's really unfair. But anyway, when the collapse happened, before that, I was been interviewing every single day, and I was been saying Taliban's are not the one to represent the people of Afghanistan, or not the one to say it changed. I was been writing an article, and I was been criticizing their action. I was been saying to the world about this discrimination the Taliban does, but no one listened. The most painful thing was and is nobody's listening. Nobody's taking serious the women's voice. I heard so many times that people are saying, I wish you will be a man. So because they think men can always be a right, but not women. And my response is always, yes, if I was a man, I was maybe one of those corrupt, a bunch of corrupt people. When in the August things happened, I was
Shukria, I'm going to ask you to pause right there, and we will resume momentarily. Okay? So I will get back to you